Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends. I'm your host Lucas Holland for this episode and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host Karl Smallwood, who is currently adjusting his camera a lot.
No one can see that.
I know, but I can and it was very distracting.
Yeah, sorry, I've got like big dad on Zoom vibes right now when my camera was pointing down at me and it's like, nah, look dead into the camera. Dead into your eyes, Lucas.
Just some fun behind the scenes there for you, just knowing Karl's like, ugh.
The thing is that no one can see is that I'm wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and it is barely buttoned up.
Oh god, yeah.
It's so warm in the you've got to button yours up and wear an undershirt, mate. I am so free and easy right now.
Yeah, Karl's like, just unbutton that one extra button just for me. Yeah. Just because he knows that no one's viewing. And as usual on Wiki Weekends, I've picked a topic and pulled up a wiki page for us to discuss and just generally vibe out about. And today, we have a special episode because our patrons decided what I was going to talk about. And I figured we'll get into it, but for Pride Month I picked X-Men.
Is the fact that X-Men can be read as an allegory for minority groups all that surprising anymore, right? I thought it was like the most well-known thing about them.
I would hope so, yeah, but I just want to clarify that I know that it might not sound like a super prideful topic, but I was like, let's talk about X-Men, and the people who voted on our Patreon, they decided that we should talk about X-Men Days of Future Past specifically, and we're talking about the movie. So I've got the Wikipedia up for the movie and not for the book, because, spoilers, they're very different to the point of having a different main character.
You're gonna give me the keys to your car and some money for gas, or you're gonna wake up in the hospital. Trust me, I know how these things play out.
Oh, because you're from the future?
No, because of these.
What did you think of it on a rewatch? Because I rewatched a couple of the X-Men movies recently, because I think I was watching like Deadpool, Wolverine, and went, let's just go watch some Wolverine movies and just see Hugh Jackman's performance change over the years.
X-Men Days of Future Past lands in a weird spot for me, where I think it still holds up as maybe the best of the X-Men films, if not one of them, right?
It's certainly the one that was the most ambitious.
Yeah,
like prior to the MCU, like X-Men Days of Future Past, one of the most ambitious like crossover movies, because it married the two universes they'd created quite seamlessly, I feel.
It did, yeah, for sure. Just connecting those two timelines together, and I'm not counting Logan in that, and probably also not counting Deadpool and Wolverine. When I'm talking about X-Men films, I'm talking about the ones with X-Men in the title. I kind of see Logan as its own beast, right? It feels so different.
Logan feels so divorced from the other X-Men movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seemingly by design as well, because they just have that moment in the film where if people didn't catch it, every mutant is dead. And they were all killed by cornflakes.
What?
Do you not pick up on that? They talk about how, like, genetically modified food made the X gene extinct.
Right, okay, maybe I've not remembered that little line in there, but
they don't draw attention to it, but like there's like multiple news reports in the background talking about how the X gene, like the thing that causes mutants, slowly died out, and it's hinted that it was a result of genetically modified food. And you know, throughout the film, you keep seeing like farms that are all industrial.
Mm-hmm.
It said like, and there's hints that was that deliberate, that they started releasing it into the food supply to make mutants extinct.
Guess what, folks? Turns out, very evil person, but maybe Magneto was right.
At least as well, why all like the little kid mutants want to go to fucking Canada because they don't have the same like food regulations as America,
and also just they've seen that comic book where it says there's a safe location there, right? As well.
No existo. Okay, you understand me? This Eden does not exist. No, it's a fantasy. Okay, see that? Those are the names of the people who just made this. They made this whole thing up.
Just the idea, though, that in like Logan, the X-Men were killed by cornflakes is terrifying.
And obviously, it's explicitly said that Professor X, like, he did kind of kill the X-Men.
He killed all the X-Men when he had a seizure, yes. They refer to it as like, it's like the Westmoreland incident, something like that.
And they also then had it's Caliban, right, who like helped them track down a bunch of the mutants and actively kill the ones that were still alive.
Yeah, that's what the Reavers were tracking down for, because he could track down mutants. So it's a really rough story. Like, the fact that mutants don't exist anymore, and it's like a background detail of just, cornflakes killed them. But in regards to Days of Future Past, what do you think?
Well,
Did you enjoy that Mystique performance?
Did I enjoy just Raven? There's barely no Mystique in this film.
It is the worst part of that, like, early trilogy with all the younger actors. Jennifer Lawrence. Because I've mentioned it before you can pinpoint the exact moment Jennifer Lawrence got her Oscar because she just stopped appearing as Mystique.
Obviously, she does literally appear. Like, she is on this Floating Heads poster as blue skin Mystique.
But she's barely ever blue skin Mystique, right?
It goes from her being blue skin Mystique nearly all the time and her enjoying that part of her character in the first movie, in First Class learning to embrace that. And then just in the next two movies, it's like, I don't want to sit in a makeup chair every time I've got a film.
It's like you could see the exact moment she got an Oscar because she said, "Fuck this, I'm better than Mystique." And I find that so wild that she's in the X-Men series and she's seeming like, I'm too good for this. I'm too good for walking around dressed as a superhero. And you can tell she's pissed off in every scene she's in. When Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are in the same series.
And even Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy and stuff, like, way more accomplished actors at the time, even if they don't necessarily have an Oscar. But yeah, just literally in the same movie as Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. Like, have you got a knighthood? I'm sorry, I don't think you do. You're not better than getting blued up.
And that's what I find hilarious as well, because it directly contradicts the character of Mystique, because it's established in those movies, right? Where you have, Nightcrawler talking to Mystique in the future, played by Rebecca Romijn, who never gave a fuck about being bright blue. She loved it. Mm-hmm. She's coming back for that fucking Doomsday movie.
Yeah.
They brought her back, not Jennifer Lawrence, and so, well, why don't you walk around looking like everybody else? Because I shouldn't have to. And it's that simple, right?
Then why not stay in disguise all the time? You know? Look like everyone else.
Because we shouldn't have to.
Kelsey Grammer comes in for, like, a really excellent out-of-nowhere beast performance in those movies. And, again, fully just third up.
You don't give a fuck, does it?
And I do want to say that, as much as we specifically rag on Jennifer Lawrence for it, I do wonder whether it's also just a means of production, because Nicholas Hoult also doesn't appear as Beast as often, right?
No, it's not, because in, like I said, the X-Men 1, 2, and 3, Rebecca Romijn is blue in every scene she's in.
Yeah, but I'm wondering how much of it is the production side of them deciding to not give as much time and effort to the makeup, right?
I would bet my left nut it's just Jennifer Lawrence is like, I've got an Oscar, I'm not doing this. But she'd sign on for 3 movies.
But anyway, Karl, before we get deep into the discussion of Days of Future Past, do you want to mention that obviously we talked about X-Men hopefully clearly being an allegory for minority groups?
Yes.
And just I think it's X-Men 2 that literally has a coming out scene, and it really, in discussions of media literacy, just harrows me knowing that some people watch that and just go, oh yeah, that was not with any other intent in mind, right?
We thought Bobby was going to a school for the gifted.
Bobby is gifted.
We know that. We just didn't realize
We still love you, Bobby. It's just this mutant problem is a little...
What mutant problem?
complicated.
Especially the fact they'd used the character of Iceman, who I think at that point in the comics was gay, but they'd written the character based on his earlier appearances in X-Men comics.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the actual reveal of Bobby being gay in the comics was, but you might be right there.
Do you know what I want though now? If they do another X-Men movie, I want to see Bobby Drake do the Mac dance for his dad when he announces that he's gay, but it's an ice skating routine.
Which is still just bizarre that, of all shows that has done a beautiful, artistic coming out scene, it's fucking Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I can't think of many other shows where they have a similar scene, someone coming out as gay. It's not very common.
It's really not.
At least mainstream media that I'm familiar with. If anyone has any examples they can think of, please let us know in the comments or in the Discord. Found link below. But there's one more rather obscure pull I'm going to make here in regards to showcasing someone in a non-traditional relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the show SWAT.
Okay, a show I'm unfamiliar with, but yeah.
Well, it's a police procedural, but
of course.
It's a deliberate, antithesis to other police procedurals, which tend to be like, fuck yeah, the police are great, let's kick down doors and shoot brown people. And they have a lot of like social issues raised in that show. And one of the characters in it, halfway through like the 3rd season, I think, just enters into a polyamory relationship.
Yeah.
It's never like brought up in a negative light. And yeah, she's just like, oh, so you're dating 2 people at once? How does that work? And goes, actually works pretty great.
Anyway, Karl.
Yes.
Back to the discussion of the movie itself. X-Men Days of Future Past is a 2014 superhero film, directed and co-produced by Bryan Singer and written by Simon Kinberg from a story he created with Jane Goldman and Matthew Vaughn. And 2014, I didn't realise that it's been over 10 years, but it does make sense because, hey, there was a couple of movies after that, then the Fox merger with Disney happened. There's been a lot going on. But shout out to this for being the best in that quadrilogy of X-Men films where just First Class, I think, is way worse than people give it credit for.
I don't understand when people say First Class is good. I think that's just the sheer raw charisma of Michael Fassbender.
Basically.
I think most of First Class is just bad.
Yeah, I mean, not only does it kill the unkillable mutant second one, but just, again, you talk about charisma, Kevin Bacon, obviously great because he's Kevin Bacon in that role, and
completely wasted.
You talk about completely wasted. Fucking Emma Frost, we get like one half of a movie with Emma Frost in it, and it's like, great, one of the coolest comic book characters just wasted.
It's what I don't get about like First Class. Everyone always says, oh, it's really good. Like 90% of that cast is boring or serves no purpose. Like the guy who screams Banshee.
Yeah.
They have a training montage of like him using his powers, and it doesn't come into play at the end of the movie. Because the end of the movie is just Michael Fassbender holds his hand up and stops the entire problem in one go.
He flies briefly. It's like, great, cool. As you say, just Michael Fassbender is the problem solver in that scene. No one else really kind of needed to be there.
It's like, why do you need anybody else when Michael Fassbender's on your team?
Yeah.
Right? And the thing that frustrates me about that film is every mutant who's not like one of like the core members of the team, their powers just look really, really goofy and not interesting or cool in a visual way. Like Banshee's powers look fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like Havoc's powers where he's got a fucking hula hoop to just spray energy out of his dick.
The energy projection effect looks fine because they'd had so much experience doing Cyclops stuff, but just the weird hula hooping of it is like, what?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Darwin, the one that they choose to kill off, it's like, why did you make that decision?
It's more as well, they could have just changed his power set. Because Darwin's powers in the comics is he adapts to survive anything. Just have him like, oh, I can adapt. Don't say I adapt to anything in the film and then kill him off. And I presumably they did that because like, oh, that makes the threat seem really scary because he specifically kills the guy who can't die. But Darwin does one thing in that movie and it's stick his head in a fish tank.
Yeah.
And get hit with a chair. So I'm pretty sure Professor X could have been hit with a chair.
It's kind of like the I guess to keep it more Marvel, I was going to say like the war problem, right? But it's similar to like Hulk's use in the MCU, where there's been several different times where Hulk's purpose is to show up, we know Hulk is strong, and then the character that's strong beats the shit out of Hulk to prove they're strong.
Yeah.
And it's just, okay, but at some point that just means we've got a shit Hulk.
I remember pointing out once, and I remember getting a few comments of people like, yeah, that never clicked when I watched it, of Hulk's dead in Marvel. Like, Hulk, because it's always like Hulk and Banner are two separate characters. So the Hulk that we see in like Avengers and in Thor Ragnarok, he died between movies. We never saw him in Infinity War because he never comes out. He has his ass beat at the start of Infinity War, and then between movies, Banner merges their personalities together, but you never actually see any semblance of the original Hulk personality in Banner.
He just stays as intelligent as Bruce Banner, but gets the physical form of Hulk.
Yeah, they actually don't seemingly. There's no suggestion that Smart Hulk is Banner and Hulk combined. Like, mentally.
Yeah.
It's Banner's mind in Hulk's body, which means Hulk's personality was deleted and we never see the Hulk again. And I'm so mad. There was, like, supposedly an idea of, when Hulk snaps... There was an idea of when Hulk does that, because it's gamma energy, it's going to supercharge the Hulk and release the Hulk again. And we get World Breaker Hulk. And it's like, no, just Banner lies on the floor going, ah! Oh!
Didn't work. Oh, no, sure, it's okay.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Of just, again, going back to this, they established Darwin as an unkillable character just to make Kevin Bacon's character seem more powerful. But that's First Class. And if anything, First Class is still better than the next, like, two after the Days of Future Past of Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. So Days of Future Past, I think, like, to me, stood out in my brain as a really good X-Men film. And I think it only stood out because, like, its other X-Men films in that quadrilogy were really weak.
Yes. Like, Apocalypse is so bad because Apocalypse should have been, like, a Thanos-level threat. And he's dealt with in one movie.
Yes.
And he doesn't really do anything.
No.
I remember the fight scene, it's like... And I think, like, did Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder rip this off of? It's him stood in the middle and all the superheroes run around him in a circle. Like, they even do you like the Flash, where the Flash is running around Superman and Superman turns his head? That's literally what happens with Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Right?
Because, like, they have the Quicksilver moment and then Apocalypse just shuts him down.
And it's like, okay, so did Joss Whedon watch X-Men Apocalypse and think that was a good scene?
Yeah, I don't know the timeline on that. Did they watch Justice League and go, that's good? Like...
Because we certainly know that Zack Snyder must have watched, like, X-Men and thought, my version of Flash will be way better than that, and fucked up the Quicksilver ripoff, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the best part of this movie, right? Or maybe the most memorable part.
It's the best part of both movies, right? That he appears in. He's so powerful, or he's established to be so powerful in that moment. That's why Apocalypse just breaks his fucking ankle.
Yeah.
Because how could you ever have a conceivable threat that he couldn't deal with when you see him moonwalking as the X-Mansion is exploding?
Yeah, literally having comedy bits between saving people. And, like, I think at one point he, like, stops to eat a slice of pizza while, like, the X-Mansion is mid-explosion.
Yeah, he throws darts, and he has enough time to do, like, style and shit. And he surfs, like, he does and he, like, surfs a table out through a window while it's exploding for style points.
I think one of my favourite moments in that is the bit where he gets the curtains, throws them out of the window as, like, a little parachute, and then just launches kids
It's so
into
clever,
it.
right, though?
Yeah.
That's like, because I remember watching that for the first time, like, what is he doing? And then, like, when it all pays off at the end, it's like, that is so genius. They need to do this in every single movie. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do it for the next movie.
It feels weird because I guess they were trying to not overdo it, but we saw it basically the exact same thing happen twice, and both times it was fucking awesome.
Like, all they need to do is just keep making it big. I said the John Wick example, where in each John Wick movie, they have a nightclub fight scene that's bigger than the one from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, did they just run out of ideas for doing that? Because if they did, I get it, because it was really hard to top the X-Mansion explosion scene, but that scene was so fucking good. Why did you stop doing that? It was the one thing about your series that separated you from Marvel.
Yeah,
they weren't doing that.
Thing that people were saying, look how good Quicksilver is compared to the Marvel version.
Like, the single best, like, showcase of super speed in any superhero media, save for The Incredibles.
And I will also say, maybe not a specific moment, but just the effects and the visuals of Makari in The Eternals.
Yeah, like, they don't have a Quicksilver moment, but their use of super speed does look very good. I like how weighty and deliberate their movement is, like when they run and jump.
Yeah.
You see them jump like 400 feet, right? And then when they land, they do that little stumble, but then keep going.
Obviously, a way slower character than that Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, but a very cool way of doing the effects.
Another one for me is in Deadpool Wolverine. It's a small moment, but I do like it. I appreciate how in that movie they really try to play up how animalistic Wolverine's fighting style is. Hugh Jackman's a good Wolverine, but most of his fight scenes are him just standing upright, fighting and swinging his arms around, which is fine. But for like Deadpool Wolverine, like when he chases after Deadpool and just crawls on all fours.
Yeah, because you think of like what's the most iconic thing that he does, and it's the Speedball special.
Yeah, like I said, just him fighting like a wild animal. Or the bit in the car, do you know the car fight scene?
Oh god, yeah, that's great.
Where he runs up and he just shoulder checks the car, and it's like it bounces back, and you think, oh yeah, he has an entirely metal skeleton. Wolverine weighs like 900 pounds. And they never really take advantage of that fact. Like, it's not really showcased much that Wolverine weighs a fucking ton.
It's not, but do you remember in the first X-Men film where the guy punches him and there's a metal clunk as he punches his jaw and breaks his hand?
I wonder why they didn't keep putting that in.
Yeah. And then every other time someone attacks Wolverine, it's just like they're attacking a human being. And it's like, no, it should break your hand to punch Wolverine.
Yeah, that metal clunk was such a great little detail, because obviously for fans of the comics, they knew that Wolverine has a metal skeleton. That was a great way to... It's like that. Can we talk about the introduction of Wolverine in the first X-Men movie and how that might be the most perfect introduction of a character?
Yeah, just like sitting at a bar and then getting in a brawl, right? Getting in like a cage fight.
And just the low shot of him like at the bar, like, you know, drinking his beer, and then like the shotgun gets put to the back of his head and he doesn't even fucking flinch because he knows it won't hurt him.
Yeah.
Have you any idea how many times I've been shot in the back of the head with the shotgun?
You know this isn't going to work, and I'm just going to chop your shotgun in half.
Yeah, now I think about it, they should have done that more. Like, Wolverine should be getting punched all the time in the head, and the person should just break the hand.
It's a goofy moment, but you then think of like X-Men 3: The Last Stand, where there's that guy whose power is to grow arms back, and he like gets solid punches in on Wolverine. It's like, no, mate, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're just going to talk about that opening scene of Days of Future Past, because I rewatched sections of it to anticipate like this conversation. And something I didn't notice until I was rewatching like clips is how fucking scary the Sentinels are. I know we know the Sentinels are scary because they fucking murk every remaining X-Men in one go. But a detail that I didn't notice, I'm like, oh my god, these things are fucking unstoppable. Do you know when they like find the X-Men and they drop the Sentinels in?
Yeah.
If you go put the clip in of that, you'll notice they don't even drop all the Sentinels.
No,
They're still like to. They dropped 2 or 3, and was like they didn't even drop them all. It's like, how fucking powerful are the Sentinels? Where it's like, this is the final stronghold with some of the strongest living mutants that are left. 3 Sentinels ought to do it.
You see those moments where they have the Sentinels, right? Where just, like, Bobby will freeze it up, and then it just learns on the fly. Okay, that's a thing that I can now counter.
Like, a descriptor of them I saw is, they might be one of the single scariest antagonists in, like, a superhero movie, because the only way the protagonists figure out to beat them is to go back in time and stop them from existing.
Yeah.
Right? Even Thanos, they could fucking kill him. It took them a while. Well, they could do it. He could, you know, they could just chop his head off. The Sentinels, like, we've got to go back in time and make sure they don't exist.
You say that, but the other character that immediately springs to mind where they need to do that is John Connor. And it's like, is John Connor really that impressive?
I don't know. Like, could John Connor beat a Sentinel?
I really like the new Sentinel design in this. Obviously, I love the classic Sentinels, right?
Yeah.
I think they look awesome, and in terms of design, you're never going to really be able to replace that. But just the new Sentinels, they have their own way of looking cool, and they're just absolutely terrifying. And I do really like the idea of, we figured out a way to use Mystique's DNA as a way to, like, it's obviously a little bit bullshitty, but to make them adapt on the fly rather than, oh, well, this batch of Sentinels got tore apart, we'll make new adaptations. It's just, No, they just figure it out as they go.
Yeah, and it's as well like the fact their transformation effect is really cool because it's the same thing with Mystique, right? Just it's artificial instead of organic.
Yeah, like where all the kind of like there's like scales on her skin change to form up, and that's one effect that looks really good in like any X-Men film, right?
But do you know what makes it better? I'm going to go back to Rebecca Romijn here. It's her performance, and it's the level of effort she put into coaching people that she transformed into. So when Mystique was playing another person, they bring the actor in. But what Rebecca Romijn would do is literally walk them through how she moved as Mystique. And so that when they were walking, as Mystique disguised as them, it would look like Mystique. And you can see that with like Senator Kelly. If Senator Kelly has like the almost catwalk struts that Mystique has, and that comes from Rebecca Romijn being a catwalk model.
Yeah.
And she's talked about how the reason she adopted that is because Mystique is not ashamed of being a mutant. So of course she would walk tall, proud.
But anyway, the story of Days of Future Past is inspired by the 1981 Uncanny X-Men storyline, Days of Future Past. And that is written by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, and the movie focuses on two time periods, with Logan travelling back in time to 1973 to change history and prevent an event that results in the unspeakable destruction for both humans and mutants, and that is, of course, the Sentinels. One obvious thing, as I mentioned earlier, the change of protagonist, where Kitty Pryde is the protagonist in Days of Future Past, the comic book. I understand, and Elliot Page is a great actor, but like
they weren't going to be able to lead that movie. Like they didn't have the raw screen presence and the fan love that Wolverine had.
I was going to say, I think it's just more the fan love for Wolverine, right? Is you see so many of these X-Men movies and spin-offs all just revolve around Hugh Jackman's Wolverine because fan favourite among fan favourites, right?
Yeah, and the change they did of we're going to use like Shadowcat's powers to help phase Wolverine through time. Because in the original comic, it's Shadowcat can phase through time as well as matter. Just transferring that to Wolverine and then him being transplanted back into the mind of his younger self.
A really weird way to alter their powers without any explanation, right?
But like, I think you can read it as, in Days of Future Past, maybe in the future, everyone got a glow up, everyone powered up, because they're like, rather than being at school and learning to use their powers for good, they've been fighting for their survival. And they probably got like the My Hero Academia fucking like plus ultra power up, right? Off screen.
Yeah, of course. Like, you figure that trying to survive against the Sentinels, everyone figured out their powers a bit more, but just, man, it's so weird. Oh, yeah, of course she can phase Wolverine's brain through time because she can walk through walls. Just, okay. Even though we had Kitty Pryde as a character in some of the, I think it was like X-Men 2 and 3, right, where they appeared, but just, they were very, very much a side role, and to make them the main character of this big movie,
it would have been weird.
It would have been an odd choice, but it's a choice that, again, you have to kind of mention, but I totally understand why they did it. Hugh Jackman is clearly the person that they want at the lead of all of these movies, but
do you know what I'm looking forward to if we get like more X-Men movies? Fucking do Cyclops properly. Do him like he's in X-Men 97, where he just doesn't give a shit.
I've never really read many X-Men comics, so I was very much under the impression, similar to like how I've never really read Superman comics, so he always seems like a pretty boring character to me. But then watching him in X-Men 97 just like laser blast around the battlefield.
The best thing about X-Men 97 is like, oh, the Blackbird's been destroyed, and Cyclops gets attacked by a fucking Sentinel. Does a 360 midair, cuts it in half, and then dives down to the ground and just uses lasers to land.
Just using your laser beams as like fucking landing jets, right? Just so cool.
He should be doing that shit all the time.
Yeah, just the moment where I saw him like doing fucking dodge rolls by just like laser blasting left and right.
Yeah. It looks so fucking cool, right?
Yeah. So I'd love to travel by laser. And just the moment I see that, I'm like, oh my god, they just fumbled him so hard. Just no wonder he was left to go to do his fucking Superman Returns.
James Marsden is one of those actors where he's had a really unlucky streak for a while because he was kind of like sidelined in the X-Men movies because he was under the impression that, like in the comic books, he was going to be the main character because Cyclops leads the X-Men. Oh, Hugh Jackman's really charismatic. Like, also, people like him with Jean better than you, so we're going to write it so, like, your girlfriend in the story fucks Wolverine. It's like, fuck this, then I'll go in Superman. And in that movie, Superman fucks his girlfriend. Got cooked twice.
Oh, he did. But yeah, just that was not the reinvention and the reboot to go for. But speaking of which, Karl,
yes,
it's Matthew Vaughn, right? Matthew Vaughn, who directed X-Men First Class, was set to return in Days of Future Past, but instead left for Kingsman: The Secret Service, great movie, and the 2015 version of Fantastic Four.
The thing is, how could he go from? Did you say he directed it?
Directed First Class and Kingsman, and then was on the...
How did the action in First Class look so bad if he directed the action in Kingsman? Can you imagine if X-Men First Class had fight scenes like Kingsman in it?
Matthew Vaughn also did, they did Kick-Ass, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, Layer Cake, Snatch, Stardust.
Do you just not give a fuck for First Class then? Because First Class is such like a boring movie. As an action movie, like the action is so boring.
Yeah.
None of the characters' powers are used in interesting ways. It's all CGI. So you couldn't get one shot of like just Nicholas Hoult in a fursuit doing backflips.
Yeah, that just means that Bryan Singer, who had directed the first two X-Men films, made his return as a director and brought along most of the crew from those productions. It says with a budget of $205 million, the film's principal photography began in April 2013 and concluded in August the same year. And then I wonder how it did in the box office. So, box office of $746 million, so...
It's, like I said, no one talks about it today, because I think, as you mentioned, like the two movies that came after it just completely just knocked any wind out of its sails, right? Because that film was great. It was designed as a send-off for those older actors to establish, like, the new ones introduced in First Class. And they went, okay, so who should we base this movie around? How about Sophie Turner?
I like Sophie Turner as an actor, but just Phoenix character was just not it, right? And just the movie, it literally ended in a train wreck. I think that's the perfect way to surmise that movie.
I just think it's really impressive that they fucked up the Phoenix saga twice. And they brought back the same guy who wrote the Phoenix saga the first time around. They brought back the guy who wrote X-Men 3. He specifically said, I want to redo and make amends for botching the Phoenix saga in X-Men 3, and then wrote another movie that also botched the Phoenix saga twice.
Literally one of the most famous and memorable plot lines in X-Men stories, right? The Phoenix saga. And they've managed to kind of do it justice in a, campy 90s cartoon, but they fumbled it with two separate Hollywood movie attempts.
It's the joke Honest Trailers makes about it. It's like, it's a story so simple, even the 90s cartoon did it justice. Yeah.
In what, like an hour?
Yeah.
But one person that I did mention earlier is Anna Paquin as Rogue, and obviously it's, weird to not mention the fact that this movie has a second cut, which is known as the Rogue Cut.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the Rogue Cut. I see why it was cut, because ultimately it doesn't add anything to the story, because, oh no, people don't know, it's like when Shadowcat gets stabbed by Wolverine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh no, how are we going to keep Wolverine under? We need someone, no one else has Shadowcat's powers, or one person might. And there's it's Iceman and Magneto go on a side quest to get Rogue, right?
Yeah, and it just, as you say, it just doesn't really add much. And obviously the reason it got made is Anna Paquin was, again, a fan favourite as Rogue, and was a great part of that. Especially first movie kind of gets sidetracked a little in 2 and 3, but just, great character, great actor, and just, we wanted to see more of them, but ultimately it's kind of just padding.
Yeah, he doesn't add anything because the end result is, Wolverine is still kept under control, and now it's just somebody else is using their powers to keep him in check and send him back in time. Although I do like just a little moment between Bobby Drake and Magneto. I also love as well that Magneto gets to fucking murk up some Sentinels. We've never seen like full power Magneto though, have we? It's a shame we've never had, like you mentioned X-Men 97, where it's like Magneto's like, you know what, humanity, why don't you just like global EMP suck my dick?
Yeah, that's the thing is, it's a very impressive shot in this film where he picks up an entire stadium and just brings it with him as Wolverine's like mega drowning. But ultimately, it's not, as you say, it's not Earth like level threats like Magneto is in the comics.
Yeah, the idea that the Sentinels would ever pose a threat to Magneto is laughable.
I do find it funny when they're like, we just put him in a plastic box, or we just use plastic Sentinels, it's fine. And he's like, I'm gonna figure a way out, like, I can just put metal into things, right?
Yeah. The idea that Magneto couldn't hold off the Sentinels on his own is hilarious, like, 'cause he could.
I don't know about those newer Sentinels, right?
Maybe, like, the newer Sentinels might surprise him, but, like, that level of, fuck you, you didn't win Magneto, there'd be zero hesitation.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of moments in this film, and I'm like, just coming up with blanks, apart from really, the prison escape scene. And maybe the visual of like the Sentinels and lifting up the stadium to fly around in. And there's ultimately, I don't think that much in the movie that does like a great job of being like these cool X-Men stories and moments, right?
The problem with the X-Men movies is that they feel so quaint, even the ones that have literal like globe-spanning consequences, when you compare it to Endgame. And it's like, we never had a moment where every single actor in that movie all worked together at the same time. Like, even like the big final stand fight scene, like they have the opening fight scene, right, where they have to jump back in time. Yeah. And you see a couple of like the heavy hitters, but we never had like a moment where every single X-Men, all the X-Men are all fighting together. We see like little snippets of them fighting separately. We never had like the Avengers Endgame moment, right? It was like, fuck it, everyone running into battle at the same time. We never had something that surprised me. At no point in any of like what the 10 X-Men movies does any character ever say, "To me, my X-Men." Not once.
Yeah.
We never had that moment.
I think there's a lack of care for a lot of the future storyline characters.
They just get killed without regard for
they keep
legacy.
Getting killed and brought back, but also just the fact that a lot of them are characters we've never met before. Like, you've got like Blink and Bishop and Sunspot and Warpath, and you're just kind of like, okay, who are these people that we've never met before? They're dead. Okay.
Do you know what that says to me? And it speaks to those X-Men movies being quite quaint. They didn't really introduce many side characters in a lot of the X-Men movies, besides the core X-Men.
Yeah. Like,
they never hint at a wider world with other mutants in it. Like, the closest you get is, Nightcrawler, let's go track him down. They don't have, like I said in the Avengers, Thor's off planet, right? So we know Thor exists and he's out there doing things. There's never a hint that there's other mutants out there.
Yeah, and then the only time they really do it in any of those movies is the Last Stand part, where you get like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants become like an entire army of just absolute jobbers with no names that no one cares about.
Like, they introduce them specifically to get killed or be specifically depowered. And even like to the point where Magneto says the pawns go first. Even he don't give a fuck. Right? Magneto, Mr. Mutant Supremacy himself, is like, fuck it, these ones are shit.
He's like, look, 5 of us matter, let the Horde go in.
It is a weakness of the movie, but I can't blame them for not doing it.
It speaks to very much a Hollywood way of doing things where it has to be, hey, we've got money for like 6 people to be the main characters here. We can't have an ensemble cast of 30 people you all care about. And obviously, that a couple of Avengers movies aside, that's normally the way it's done, right?
It is.
And even, I think Civil War's a great example of Civil War in the comics, is hundreds of superheroes in a civil war, and in the movies, it's like, oh, well, 12 people fight in an airport.
I still think the most wild thing about Civil War is that Cap has the fucking gall to like, we didn't do anything wrong. It's like, you blew up an airport.
It's just minor property destruction, right? Nobody died.
It's an international airport.
Yeah, I know.
On foreign soil.
Yeah.
Sovereign nation blowing up their airport. And then like Cap's like, what, we didn't do anything wrong.
Obviously, ultimately, Tony's the bad guy and the government are the bad guy in that story, but yeah.
One of the lines in Civil War that always like cracks me up, because I get the intent, but it does read very poorly, depending on how you interpret it, is where Cap's like, what if the government sends us somewhere we don't want to go? Or doesn't let us go somewhere we feel that we should go? Like, what he's arguing for there is, I should be able to go into a sovereign nation and do what the fuck I want without asking permission. It's like, Cap, you can't do that.
But he's Captain America, he can do what he wants.
And that's the thing, it's like, he is Captain America and he is always right, but what he's effectively arguing for there is zero oversight and the authority to go anywhere he wants and do whatever he pleases. And it's like...
Yes. I understand the argument for the Accord.
It's the thing, if anyone but Cap said it, you'd be like, okay, sure, but he's Captain America, he's always right. But like, how many people on your team, Cap, have their primary weapon is a gun?
And how many others that don't have guns are because they are like weapons of mass destruction personified?
It's like, how often does like the Falcon do a spinning backflip while firing oozes? Can you be accountable for every bullet that he fires in that moment, right? What if one of those ricochets and hits somebody?
He doesn't need to be responsible for it because they have no responsibility, Karl.
Yeah.
They have no recompense, right?
How fucking dare you tell me I can't go to a foreign nation and kick the fuck out of someone with an American flag on my chest?
I did find it very funny just how quickly the American flag on his chest got like
toned down,
desaturated and toned down, right? But that's a discussion for another day, Karl.
US agent, right? I've seen the clip out of context of, yeah, I got in trouble for like just doing my duty. It's like, didn't you kill an innocent man in the street? And it's like, that's not how I remember it from Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
What I saw was Captain America chasing a superpowered terrorist who was throwing house bricks in a public area.
The important thing is that in the public people's eyes, some guy got kicked out of a fucking building by Captain America and decapitated. It's like, yeah, that does read real bad.
The thing is, though, I just think, like, if your argument is that Captain America shouldn't do that, what about the start of Winter Soldier where Cap kicks that guy who's not looking at him and snaps his spine on a boat? Is that okay?
He snaps him, like, on the boat and lands him in the ocean.
Because think about that, right? Like, Cap killed that guy and that guy wasn't a threat. Like,
yeah, no,
he didn't have his gun raised. He had a gun, but he didn't have it raised.
He was a terrorist, though, Karl. He was a nameless terrorist, therefore he should die.
What was the goal of the flag smashers again? What had they just done? Had they just killed like a US agent while in the act of bombing a hospital?
Shh, Karl, it's fine. But anyway, I know that we've maybe been harsh on this movie a little bit, but it's just one of those things of, I think, standalone as part of the X-Men series, it was a really good film. Compared to some of the highlights of the MCU and Marvelverse and stuff, just it is upsetting to see like how much more we could get.
Also, the problem is that the X-Men franchise is very messy because they clearly didn't anticipate how big it was going to grow.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of like missteps. Like, hey, that Logan movie's great. What about that X-Men Origins movie?
When you know that Logan exists, this movie also just doesn't seem quite as grandiose as maybe it once did. But just to bring everyone on a lighter note, hopefully a clip of the Quicksilver scene, provided that it doesn't get copyright struck for use of music. Let's see if that happens.
I've just realised something, Lucas. This video we're recording right now is going to bookend every single video we upload during Pride Month.
That is true, yeah. We pre-record these, but this will actually be during the month of Pride that this keeps showing, right?
Yeah, so I guess, like, shout outs to all the guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there. We here at Wiki Weekends support your right to live and love the way you choose. If it wasn't obvious, we support gay rights. Our logo is literally a rainbow.
Yeah, like, I would hope that, everyone knows that we hope that they have a happy Pride. I hope that both me and you, Karl, enjoy our Pride as well. And just, yeah, it's one of those things of, like, I'm happy to be here and shout out and support those people, but I guess we also have to shout out the people that fucking pay us.
A big shout out to all of our fans who fall under the banner of Pride, but a specific shout out to the people who support us over on our highest tier on Patreon.
Yeah, we don't remove the rainbow from the Wiki Weekends logo after June. We can say that much, right?
Yeah, can you imagine if we did that? Like, we should start removing the rainbow. No, we should do. Keep the rainbow in every month except for Pride Month. You know where Skittles did that? Where Skittles tried co-opting Pride by releasing entirely white Skittles and saying the only rainbow that deserves to fly during this month is the gay Pride rainbow. And it's like, fuck off, Skittles.
And then did they take that away a month later? Yeah, they fucking did. You know they did.
The best one was the one you told me of, like, the IKEA gay Pride couches that they released. And they were like, everyone's like, well, that's a pretty snazzy gay Pride couch. I want the gay sofa to have, like, gay sex on. Like, oh, it's not a real sofa, you can't buy it.
But it was a gay sofa for every flag, and they were like, yeah, these are all hypothetical sofas.
Yeah, we're not actually going to make them, but wouldn't it be cool if we did? It's like, so I can't have gay sex on the gay IKEA sofa?
No.
The gay Kia sofa? It's like, no.
The hypothetical gay sofa.
Yeah, like, just, that's got to be a title of a video at some point, right? The hypothetical gay sofa. I'm just looking at this list of names, mate, and you've given me all the really hard ones.
I just realised that, like, there's one person in there that said that they were looking forward to you trying out, like, their little tongue twister they left in. And then that means that if going one by one, I've kind of fucked you on all of them.
So yes, if you are currently still watching the video, this is the little shout out we do at the end of each of our Wiki Weekends episodes to say thank you to those on our Patreon who subscribe to the highest shout out tier. And a running challenge, I guess it's just me who's been saying this, so I deserve this, that we've had for our audience is to come up with the funniest or hardest to pronounce name on Patreon you can to fuck us over during this section. And oh boy, have our audience stepped up this month.
They have indeed. And Karl, do you want to kick off the list and continue to get the hard names?
Okay, let's start with, so the first person we like to shout out is Star, B of Awesome, Star Emoji, B Emoji, Crown Emoji, B 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 Emoji.
You once worked 96 hours straight.
Oh yes, it was horrible, I tell you. By the end, I thought I was a hummingbird of some kind.
Oh yeah, I studied your old security tapes.
Beep, 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 beep.
And after that, we have Wu One King Day One Piece Wonka.
Hey, that's for you, the One Piece.
この帽子をお前に預ける。俺の大切な帽子だ。大事にしろよ。
Yeah, like the One Piece. Is this like with Dragon Ball, where like just people from South America have co-opted it, right? Where you always see like taco trucks in Mexico that have like Goku on there. Which is like the greatest thing, right?
I don't really know whether Straw Hat is popular, but I do know that a lot of like Latin America is massive One Piece fans. I do know that much, but
I don't... Dragon Ball. Like, all I can think is just that fact theme video we did years ago, where like strip clubs in Mexico aired the Tournament of Power. We move on now to the next person to shout out, and they've made their name on Patreon, a tongue twister for yours truly. So, the burning dragon burns bright in the Bourbon Bureau of bodacious buffoons, buffing barns in the backs of Bengal barnacles. Yeah, and you can confirm, right, Lucas, I had one attempt at that before we started recording. That's my second go. I love tongue twisters. Yeah. Do better next time. The burning dragon burns bright in the Bourbon Bureau of bodacious buffoons, buffing barns in the backs of Bengal barnacles.
The last thing is, Karl had one attempt at it beforehand, and still read it just immaculately without trying.
I'm really good at tongue twisters.
I am not, as the next name, Rustlindis Memphis, will show. Like, I struggle with 2 words.
I admire your luck, Mr.
Memphis. Rustling Disc, Memphis.
The next name to shout out is in another language, according to the person who wrote it, and that is Niknakui Hochata. So I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apologies if not, but at the same time, they specifically chose that name to fuck us over, so hopefully they found it funny at least. Just watching this white boy struggle.
Anyway, the name after that is one that's a little bit easier to say. That is Lucille de Steele. Thank you so much for your support.
This robot seems to be running on empty. I don't believe it. Adam is taunting Zeus. Mr. Turbo. He's actually asking for more.
Yes, and I have like a nice, easy to pronounce name after this one, so thank you to Little Ghost for not entirely fucking over me in this specific shout out. Little Ghost.
Next, we've got somebody that did have a ridiculously long name, but now has chosen to, give up the bit, so to speak, because they have many patrons to support, and it's Kicking Bucket. And I can only see this as like a little bucket with a fish in or something, maybe.
I think it's a bucket with the handle, right? That's where the rest of the Patreon name went. They put the rest of the name into the little bucket.
They put it in the Kicking Bucket,
Yeah. And the next person shout out is Judge Dredd. And shout out to the person with the name Judge Dredd on Patreon for letting me keep putting Judge Dredd clips into these shout outs.
I hate cops. Look in my eyes, John. I'll see you in hell tonight.
And you're going to have to figure out, you're going to have to decipher how to put in clips for Decipher Bio, Karl.
Well, it's going to be like Cypher from Pokemon, right? Like, who's that Pokemon? It's Cypher!
Who's that Pokemon? It's Cypher!
Decipher Bio. The god card from, Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's Slifer. You get it fucking right. Decipher the Sky Dragon.
Slifer the Sky Dragon, not Cypher the Sky Dragon, yeah.
Decipher Bio, the Sky Dragon. Oh, this next one is someone who's just, put an entire sentence in what I presume is Spanish. I studied Spanish at school.
I didn't.
By which I mean I had a really fit Spanish teacher, so I didn't learn any fucking Spanish. So let's give this one a go, shall we? So, Carlos crea un oración un español para tortura a Carlo Poliquiano y Lucas Holland and Petron. And I'm just going to put on the accent and hope it sounds good. Carlos crea un oración un español para tortura a Carlo Poliquiano y Lucas Holland and Petron. And all I think when we're talking about communicating with people from another region of the world is that incredible screenshot someone grabbed from a Japanese textbook about what people in England talk like. And it shows you a little cartoonish Japanese tourist, and it's some cartoonish British guy with a Burberry cap, and it's all you Chinese slags, you want to go for a shag? And it's I'll be honest, you got us. You got us, Japanese textbook.
The one thing that I love doing is just knowing many different iterations of hello in different languages. And it's just funny how many people are just oh, we've been cut out, I'm so sorry. It's I don't know what you were saying, I just know to be able to try and trick you.
Lucas stands up and starts going, Yumo Gwegwe Vaidi Sao, Yumo Gwegwe Vaidi. It's shit, you watch Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh,
you know
shit.
What you're doing.
Oh, shit.
Bro, watch Jackie Chan Adventures. It's fucking moist right now. But yeah, thank you to everyone at home for watching this far and also for supporting us on our Patreon. I hope people continue to fuck us over with harder tongue twisters and harder pronounced words from languages we're not familiar with.
And keep just happening to put it in an order where Karl gets all the shit ones.
Don't do that. Everyone needs to do it. Luke has got to suffer too. Do you want to have a go at any of those I said?
No.
Do you want to have a go at the tongue twister?
No, don't. I'll try next month, maybe.